Thank you. It's my privilege to introduce the speakers today. I've got to know both of these girls, and they're trying to decide which one is going to go first, so I'm going to make up their mind for them. We're going to keep the suspense up till I say their names, so they'll probably know who I'm talking about. They've both been good friends to me since I've met them. I see the one more than the other one, but I connect with the first speaker mostly because of their work in carrying the message to the addict that still suffers that can't necessarily get to the outside. And to me, that's I have a special feeling for people that carry that message, because that's where the message was brought to me first, was in an institution. And without any further ado, Meg.
Thanks, Dan. I'm Meg, and I'm a recovering addict.
Hi, Meg.
And my stomach has, I don't think it's butterflies, I think it's bats. An addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, find the desire to stop using, and find a new way to live. I was told that that is our message. And our message is that the steps work. The way I try to carry the message is by sharing my experience, strength, and hope. My experience is that I cannot successfully use drugs. My strength is the 12 steps, the fellowship, and other recovering addicts. My hope is that no addict seeking recovery need ever die from the horrors of addiction. I came into this fellowship a little over 2 years ago because I had had enough. I felt hopeless. I felt desperate. I felt like dying. And through coming into this fellowship, through reading the informational pamphlets, I found that spark of hope. I went to my first meeting, and somebody shared with me that I never had to use again. And that sounded too good to be true. With very little time in this fellowship, I was invited in to do H9, which is hospitals and institutions. That's where addicts go into facilities where the clients can't get out to regular meetings. We go in and share the message of recovery. We go in and tell people that they never have to use again, that there is a new way to live. All they need to do is come to meetings, get to know other recovering addicts, and just never use no matter what. H9 has been a very big part of my recovery because it reminds me that I too can pick up the dope again. You people tell me I never have to again, and I need to hear that on a regular basis because I'm an addict that forgets simple things. Our primary purpose is to carry that message to the addict that still suffers. I always need to remember that I can be that still suffering addict. Through working these steps, it makes it a little easier each day to stay clean. There are a lot of ways to fulfill our primary purpose, whether it be through sponsorship, through H9, through PI, through any of the various other subcommittees, through any of the other service positions that are available through Narcotics Anonymous. It takes a certain degree of commitment, it takes a certain degree of responsibility, and it takes a whole lot of willingness. And every time I walk into a meeting, I see the willingness in people. I was afraid to get involved in service because I didn't think I could handle it. I didn't think I had enough to offer. I didn't think I had a message to carry. I didn't think I had the responsibility enough to follow through with that. But today I know Yes, I do. And you people taught me how to do that. I don't like to be a thief. And when I come to meetings and just sit there and get my recovery and not give anything back, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm stealing recovery. I get involved because somebody told me that people that get in the middle can't fall off the edge. And I tended to throw myself right in the middle of everything. You know, I thought I had to do it all, be it all, say it all, live it all. And then I got burned out. And I had to take a breather. And the service junkie that I was had 7 positions at one time. I've since given up a few, which is a good thing for me because it was getting to the point where my ego was taking over and my recovery and some of the recovery of other people around me was being affected adversely. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share today. I never thought in a million years anybody would want to hear what I had to say. Sometimes I still think that. But then I have friends in the program, people that love me and say, yeah, you do have recovery, and you share it well. I heard that just this morning, and I'm grateful for that. Our primary purpose is called our primary purpose because it is the most important thing we can do. When we tell a newcomer, you never have to use again, keep coming back, it works. We're fulfilling that primary purpose. Each time I hug somebody I don't know, I'm fulfilling that primary purpose, not for the other person, but for myself. When I hug you, it helps me. And good hugs do leave lasting impressions. Bad hugs leave lasting impressions, but they're hugs, they're contact. I used to be so afraid to let people in. I couldn't look at you, let alone receive a hug from you. Today I can do that. When I go into facilities to do H&I try to remember when I was sitting in that seat and how I felt and what I so desperately needed to hear. That I was loved. That somebody cared whether or not I stayed clean. That there was a reason I exist. There was a reason that I went through all the things that I went through. It brought me to where I'm at today. I have so many blessings that I've received since I've gotten in this fellowship. It's through you people and through the love of my higher power and the continuing contact with you people and my higher power. I was talking with other recovering addicts, and it's like this year, being here, I'm so far removed from where I was last year. For that, I'm grateful. The growth we can receive through working these steps and through carrying this message is awesome. My hope is that last year we had 32 people that pre-registered for this convention. This year we had 104. Next year, maybe it'll be 250. It keeps growing because we do carry the message. We carry the message through love, through pain, through gentle kindness, through giving. We carry the message in ways when we go somewhere and we're wearing a Narcotics Anonymous t-shirt or a bumper sticker, we carry the message, and I have to be aware of how am I living? How am I living today? You know, when I wear this t-shirt, I am a representative of Narcotics Anonymous. Am I going to go running around acting like an idiot, giving NA a bad name? I try not to. I try not to. How I park my vehicle in a parking lot with the stickers on it. Am I being conscious of the other cars around me? Am I careful? Am I making sure that other people have access? I try to. When I answer my phone, when I'm not in a good space, do I answer it lovingly in case it's a suffering addict that's too afraid to pick up that phone and talk to somebody but does it anyway? Do I make eye contact with people that are sharing? I try to. Because I love what I found here. I found a home. I found a new way to live. I can't imagine where my life will be next year. But if this next year happens anything like this past year, I know I'm going to be okay. I am very honored, very blessed, and very grateful to be here this weekend. I'm so glad to have the people in my life that I do today. If I haven't met you yet, please come and hug me after the meeting. If I have met you, come and hug me anyway. I like hugs. Thank you, that's all I've got.
Our second speaker is from this area. I thought about that later. It was nice that we had our guest from out of town speak first. But Kim's been involved in the convention committee and helped me out when I needed help the most in a time of illness a while back, and I've got a special place in my heart for her on that too. So without saying any more, it's not that bad, Kim. Kim C.
I'm Kim, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Kim.
And I'm very grateful to be here today. Grateful to be clean and at this wonderful place called Camp Mac. Very grateful and thankful that We Grow with Love is held here. Last year was the first year that I spent the entire weekend here. And I met some wonderful people here. Got to know some people that, thank God, I've got to see again this year. I was involved with the committee a little bit, and she came around to do the workshops, and I volunteered my friend Meg. I thought a lot about our primary purpose. According to the basic text, our primary purpose is to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. To me, the addict who still suffers can be somebody with 1 day clean. It can be somebody that has 20 days clean. I know for myself, I have 3 years and some, and I am sometimes in a wonderful spot, and sometimes I'm not. And thanks to you people and the message of Narcotics Anonymous, I'm clean today. In order for me to carry the message, I have to be involved, whether that means going to meetings, service work. And service work to me isn't just being on a committee, holding a trusted service position. It's cleaning up ashtrays, hugging the newcomer, accepting phone calls at any time, hugging someone, anyone. That is a way to carry the message, because that is our primary purpose. When I first came around, went through treatment, and these people kept telling me to go to a meeting, so I went to a meeting. In fact, I went to many meetings when I first got clean. And they kept telling me things like, keep coming back, and keep it simple, and 1 day at a time. And I heard these things for months, and I thought, okay, keep coming back, keep it simple, 1 day at a time. But those things have saved my life. Those little things have saved my life. I do keep coming back. because, you know, it would be a real shame if I walked into a room and there was nobody there. You know, no matter what clean time we have to keep coming back, because we can't keep what we have without giving it away. And the best way to give it away is to get involved. I'm a sponsor. I have a sponsor. You know, I find when I have those bad days that sometimes my sponsee helps. You know, even her calling me, talking to me about what's going on in her life. All of a sudden it's like, okay, I remember. I know I'm here, you know. It helps me when I talk to you. You know, sometimes I'm talking to my sponsee and things come out that I don't know where they come from, but I know they come from my higher power, which I choose to call God. And having a conscious contact with your higher power helps you with your primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. You know, I'm just, again, very grateful for this program. I have learned so much. As Meg mentioned, you know, it's amazing how things are brought into your life, people are brought into your life, circumstances are brought into your life which you do not understand, why you're going through them, why you have to deal with them. And then down the road, you see, this is why I experienced that. Because you're able to share it with somebody else. That gives you your experience, your strength, and your hope. Because you know that you've been through it, you dealt with it clean. And you're able to share that message with somebody else. You know, I am grateful again. I don't know, you guys probably get tired of hearing me say the word grateful, but I am very grateful to be clean today. My life was a mess, and it can still be a mess. If you're new to this program, keep coming back, because it works. It works if you get involved. It works if you share. You know, sharing at meetings helps carry the message. It helps with our primary purpose. You know, even if all you say is, "Hi, I'm an addict and I'm grateful to be clean," that helps a newcomer in the room, helps me. I get a lot from newcomers. It reminds me of where I was and how I don't want to go back there. I know it's possible in the next minute to go back there, but I am grateful today that I have you people, that I have the basic text, that I have the just for today, the how and why, because it works. Carrying the message, I've been known to give how and whys to people. I've been known to give basic text to people. That is another way of continuing our primary purpose, to share the message with them. Wow. I was worried and concerned that I wouldn't know what to say when I started speaking. And again, my higher power has allowed me to share with you once again. Thank you.
We've got quite a bit of time left yet. Before we open the mic to the floor for anyone else that would like to share, I need to remind you that this is being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let us know before you sit down up here, and it can be turned off, but we need to know ahead of time. This workshop does end at 11:30, which gives us approximately an hour yet, but I'm going to share a little bit, and you girls can stay sitting up here if you want, or relax, or whatever. I guess since I'm up here, I'm going to be the first one to share from the room, and I'm sharing from my perspective as an addict. Just there's a lot of things the girls said that I related to. They were talking about, and one thing that I need to really be careful about myself is that public image. You know, I'm carrying the message. People that know I'm in NA, I'm carrying the message no matter how I am that day. You know, and I think about that sometimes, and I can beat myself up for not being perfect, but I know that I'm still human. You know, I've got to let them know that just because I'm in a recovery program, I'm not instantly recovered. You know, if they would happen to find this program, they're still going to be allowed to recover at their pace. You know, they're not going to expect to be perfect just because they show up here. The day they show up, they've got to be this. You know, that's I'm okay with that today. That took me a while to get there. Carrying the message, you know, that is our primary purpose, to carry the message that still suffers, to the addict that still suffers. That addict could be me today, you know, any given day. And the message that is available for me on that day is that you guys are still doing it. You know, just hang in there for one more 24 hours. Tomorrow's going to be different. You know, I didn't say whether it can be better or worse. I don't know that till I get there. Every day is a little bit different. I look forward to it today as a challenge. You know. You know, they talked about carrying the message inside to addicts that can't get to the outside. Yeah, that's something that's a big project. You know, there's a lot of us that ended up in jails and institutions before we could figure out what was happening. You know, we put ourselves there. Our best thinking put us there, and that doesn't mean that everybody has to go there to be a part of NA. You know, I know that I would like to let everybody know that if you continue, if you haven't been there yet, that's where you're going to go. But you don't have to go there. You know, if I can keep somebody else from having to go through some of the pain that I went through, then that's okay. That's carrying the message too. I've seen enough addicts that have shared the same thing that I've shared about the progression of the disease. You know, the longer we keep doing this, the longer we stay in active addiction, the worse the mess is. And if you don't believe that, just keep doing it. That's sad, but that's the only way we learn sometimes. Is just, you know, until the mess is so big that we can't stand it anymore. You know, they talked about a lot of different ways to carry the message. I keep thinking of the primary purpose, and the primary, and then I want to change that into the primary message. The primary message is, to me, that we never have to use again, no matter what. You know, and that's not. I say that with a we. I think that's still, just like in our steps. That's still the most important word in that statement is we. We together. I don't have to do it alone anymore. And if you know, and today I've got I had the privilege of sitting here and letting you know that these steps work on other things, other things that you want to change about yourself, because about 9 months ago I decided I wanted to quit smoking cigarettes, and you know, and I used the same things that worked for me to quit using drugs. You know, and I know this fellowship doesn't have an opinion on that. It's an outside issue, but I can apply these steps to all areas of my life, you know. Talking about the gratitude, and I still say that the thing that I have the most gratitude about this program, about the whole overall picture is that I discovered I was an addict because of my active addiction. I'm allowed to come to these rooms, work the principles of this program, and find a new way of life. You know, without me being an addict, you guys wouldn't let me be here. You know, I might be able to hang out on some things like this, but to go to whatever meeting I want to go to and listen to somebody else share about things that I'm dealing with and how they're dealing with them, and learning more about how to live life on life's terms with my type of thinking, you know, it just it means a lot for me to have a group of people like you all to help me live life one day at a time. And you know, before the weekend, I have a lot of anticipation on this weekend, I guess would probably be the easiest way for me to put it. I love this particular convention, and you know, I could feel myself, some of those old feelings, you know, that I wanted to project how it's going to come out, that I was going to see Chuck again, you know. Just everybody that's been here over the years, you know, and if this is your first one, please come back, you know. That's another part of this reunion, this celebration that has been so good to me over the time that I've been involved with it. Seeing those same faces year after year, you know, there's more than one here that's been here as often as I have, and you know, that's something really, really special. The more of you I meet, the broader the base is on my recovery, you know, on my program, and that's how you guys carry the message. That's one way you carry the message to me too, you know, whether you know it or not. We all carry the message. So glad you're all here, and anyone else that would like to, the mic's open.
I'm Shane.
And if you want to be recorded, that's all right. Shane?
Part of the NA program, which I believe very strongly in, is the existence of a group conscience at every meeting. Our common shared will, which affects the way our meetings go and what we say. I can't say that I've worked my program to the ability that I'm capable of. I've stayed sober. But the program is more than just about keeping sober. It's about discovering who you are. Because for me personally, that was the exact reason why I didn't know who I was. I was frightened of that fact. Sitting there listening to our speakers enticed me to write some words that I felt were relevant to this situation. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to read this for all the blessed and all the suffering in these walls and without. Sitting there so bold and proud, looking at her lifts the shroud. I found in here that fireless spark that stings of hope and tears my heart. It is written in blood, my desperation. By God's will, somehow your words have rung true. The honor that lies in the days ahead will bring us together and hold us in bed. Lean on our shoulder, tear at the dark, like flesh to the bone. Our love is true. In these walls, there is no blue. And it then also for Kim's speech, well, just gotta chill. Your ebony skin has brought us together. The conscience that speaks through you is in here forever. These walls will imprison our thoughts and our dreams and set our lives free. To not have to hide behind shame. It tears up my eyes. It hurts me so bad to see you sad. You have given so much and taken so little. I beg you to see. I beg you to differ. We are here for you. Our hearts are open. So this is for you. And also to all the newcomers and all those who don't have any hope right now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike. I'm an addict from the Detroit area, and I'm glad to be here today. On this topic, our primary purpose, I believe that the flow of recovery is pretty much one direction, and that direction simply is that we become less self-centered and strive to become more God-centered. And in our endeavors to become God-centered, it's important to know that as ambassadors of Narcotics Anonymous, we're never quite sure who we're affecting. And I truly believe that each recovering addict probably touches the lives of 15 people immediately in your vicinity. It could be family members, it could be friends, it could be former friends, it could be old using buddies. And there's like a rippling effect of recovery going right out here into society from each and every one of us. And you may, in your striving to practice these principles in all your affairs, be the only 12-step literature somebody else is ever going to come in contact with. So in that sense, I think that it's important just to try to practice these principles in all our affairs, because you never really know who you're going to touch. My personal belief is that we teach best what we most needed to learn. And for the addict out here that struggled with this stuff for a couple years and went back out and struggled and relapsed and went back out, kicking yourself in the ass all the way, once you do get this program, you will be a beacon for the newcomer suffering addict that feels hopeless, and so like school's in session with this program, and recovery is a process, it is not an event, and we need people in all stages of the process, because real healthy people don't have the attraction for real sick people. Sick people need to be attracted to people just a little less sick. And so and I'll tell you, today's newcomer assholes will be tomorrow's sponsors, and that's the flow of this recovery process. And I don't know. I'm just I'm glad to be here. I just thought I'd just take a moment just to come up here, and thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, I'm Kevin and I'm an addict.
Hi, Kevin.
The first time I came into the program 5 years ago, I wasn't really ready for it. See, I was still using at the time even, and the whole concept of God and the literature just kind of was like, well, I'm not really God, or I don't really trust in God, so I guess this isn't going to really work. So eventually I went back, I didn't even come in, but I stopped coming to meetings, and eventually it got deeper, and 4 years later I ended up in rehab again. And where I was at, for me, it was the best rehab program that we had in the area. And it was, the group I was in was run by a woman in the program who had over 15 years clean. And they didn't push Narcotics Anonymous on you. They didn't say you had to go to meetings, you should go to meetings, go to meetings. They didn't do that. She did use a lot of the sayings. And one thing that she said stuck with me the most, the one thing that she said that stuck with me the most that probably brought me back into the program was that it's not just about staying clean. I mean, that's the primary thing, staying clean. But the steps, if you look at them, the only step that really has anything major to say about using is the first part of the first step. The rest is just about living. She said the 12 steps is the way everybody in the world should live, but the way that we, as addicts, have to live. We have no other choice. And that stuck with me, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I mean, that's just the way it is. And that's what brought me back, and I've been clean for over a year now, and it's really nice, and I like it. So, I mean, that's just all I have, I guess. Thanks.
Hi, my name is William, and I'm an addict.
Hello, William.
I'd just like to thank this young man. He really inspired me in his writing, and I remember when I was his age. That's probably his age when I came into NA. Maybe even a little younger, I don't know. But I never had the willingness at that age to do anything like he did. I didn't really have the willingness to come up here and talk to you folks right now, but somehow I got up here. And the gentleman that said about we need people just about as sick or a little sicker or a little less sicker than we are really hit home with me, because I was invited to this retreat by a gentleman I met last weekend at a NA camp out in kind of upper Michigan area. And, he invited me to come out here with him. And I was at first debating because he said spiritual, and I'm not really into the spiritual thing, I guess. I don't know, I'm trying to get more contact with my higher power, but the night before we came, I called him because I hadn't heard from him, and I said, so are you ready to go? He told me we didn't have to pre-register anything, and first come, first serve thing, and then I called somebody else, and that had something to do with setting this up, and this first person I called, all he knew was, I don't know. And it's like, I'm trying to find out because I'm driving from Michigan. I want to know what's going to happen when I get here. Do I have a place to sleep? And it's like, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, who do I talk to? And anyway, I found out what I needed to find out, and I was kind of concerned about my friend that was supposed to come with me. So I called him and I asked him, I go, hey, do you know you got to kind of like call and pre-register, or there might not be a room for you in the lodge if you don't or something? And he told me he wasn't going to come. He said he's sorry, he's going to back out on me. I was on the phone with him for like 10 or 12 minutes before I realized, he wasn't really being truthful and being honest. And he asked me, how long? He goes, you really seem like you got a program going on, and how long have you been in this program? And I told him, I've been in over 15 years. I said, but I don't have 15 years. I walked in NA rooms for the first time when I was probably 15 or 16 years old. Was the first time I went to a meeting. And I'm trying to get 30 days next week, God willing, and I'll have that. It's a start. It's somewhere I need to be right now. And so I told him that, and he said, no. And he said, no way. And I said, yeah. I said, but I only got not even 30 days yet. He goes, yeah, well, I don't even have 24 hours anymore. And it's like he went out 3 nights ago, and he used. And the first thing I asked him, so that's why you're not going? And he said, yeah, I feel kind of guilty. I said, well, that's why you need to go, because you need to be here. If not as much as I do, more than I do. But then I had to think about that, and I think we all need to be here as much as each other, and we need each other equally. No matter if we got 10 years or 10 days, because we all come from the same place. And we all have the same disease. And it's really bothering me because I really feel for him. Even though I only met him a week ago. He just really touched me at the camp out and stuff. And I don't know, I've just been praying for him. I kind of wish he would have came, but that's all right, because hopefully they'll call the sponsor and do the right thing. And that's all I got. Thanks.
My name is David. I'm an addict. I was really struck by the words about these steps are something that people outside the program ought to do, but we got to do. Something I've been trying to get a handle on for a while is the idea that with membership comes responsibility. And I'd like that spelled out for me somewhere, because we're a member when we say we are. We're a chairperson when we're elected. We're a secretary when we're elected. We're a treasurer when we're elected. We're a member when we say we are. When we're a secretary, we have certain responsibilities and duties. It doesn't end at being elected. Okay, I'm elected. Okay, now I'm a secretary. Done. Okay, I say I'm a member. I'm an addict. Done. It doesn't end there. And I'd like my responsibilities spelled out for me. Type up the minutes. I'd like my membership responsibilities spelled out for me somewhere. When I first got clean, I had this mishmash program of all kinds of things. And there were a couple NA meetings in there, the only ones in town, and they were a real mishmash of all kinds of stuff. And then some people came from other places, moved to Lafayette, kind of gave me the idea that, well, maybe we did things, we had pretty much all we needed as far as the NA program in a meeting, but we were doing things differently. Not that we needed to change, and add on stuff. We had needed to kind of maybe cut out some of the stuff we were doing different. And I started going to other meetings in other places, and I could see that, didn't smell like home everywhere else I went. There was, some more standardization than we had at home in our little unique place. And for a lot of us, we tried to really look like what we saw elsewhere. We got this area thing going, and we got a bunch of policies and titles and positions, and we got to a point where we really looked like an area, And over the last couple of years, we've been functioning like an area, and it's been pretty weird. It's actually gone beyond the policies. It started to actually happen by the principles, guiding what was happening. And that's at the area service committee level. And I hate to say this, but all the excitement I had in those early days of being part of this, making things at the group level look like NA, we had some darn good groups back then. And I feel like the area kind of pulled some of the focus away from the groups. And I'm thinking with membership, and that being my most important title today. And I've got others, but of all of them, member being the most important title. And I'm not just talking about the stuff like hugging a newcomer before I hug my friends at meetings. I'm not just talking about going out for coffee and my responsibilities and sponsorship. I'm still talking about the hour. Our primary purpose, coming together as a group, actively, not just in a service body elsewhere, as a group which provides the most basic service of Narcotics Anonymous, a meeting. It's It's not just something that the secretary and the GSR is supposed to worry about. It's for the members, every one of us there, every home group member. And that's something I skipped right by at some point, I've had a home group, but it was always kind of like, for me, it was all about the meeting I could make every week. I'm really realizing that's not what home group member is about. Home group member is my most important responsibility, my most important title, for me to be involved in looking at how my meeting fits, and my group, the service of a meeting that it provides fits with other resources available to newcomers. Whether newcomers are hearing the message, that it's important to go to other meetings besides this one. If the format is so structured that newcomers don't get the fundamental actions to take, things like that. It was exciting. It was really exciting back when we were all screwed up, and it was part of being some, thing that we really felt together, building Narcotics Anonymous in Lafayette area. It was really exciting, and the lengths that we had to go through, we felt so sorry for ourselves for, But man, it's like there were 2 meetings. Now there's like 2 nights where there's only one, And, areas like, there's a bunch of people there freaking out because, maybe we have to shut area down, summertime blues. I'm kind of like smirking because, we got 3 times the number of people at the beginning of the summer flipping out than we did, at the beginning of the summer 3 years ago flipping out, We're growing, it's exciting. But my focus isn't at the area service committee level so much, or, home group member, and I'm really wanting to learn what that is spelled out, I don't know. Our primary purpose as a group that holds a meeting, carrying the message. Someone could type that up for me by the end of the hour. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. I'm an addict called AJ. We do recover. Get an amen or a hallelujah for that, don't I? No, it doesn't this program, really. The thing I was looking at when I thought about what the primary purpose was, and obviously, that's pretty clear, but then the deeper underlying meanings too, and I saw some things that, first of all, I was thinking, I've got to have something. Last night we were talking about the difference between delivering the message and carrying the message. That our primary purpose is to carry the message. We can deliver the message, and they're just words until they're put into action. And leading by example, it's in this literature, it's how we walk, how we, not just how we talk. And if I feel that, primarily I am the most important addict at any meeting I go to, and I don't mean that from a self-centered point of view. I respect the disease of addiction to know that it can reach up and bite anybody at any time, and that I have to be vigilant about it. So in turn, I know that what I hear and how I hear the message through whoever I hear it from and however I hear it, and if it's a clear Narcotics Anonymous message, what I do away from Narcotics Anonymous is my business, but when I'm in a meeting, I deserve the respect that this fellowship deserves myself to hear what the Narcotics Anonymous message is. And I think that is enough to carry the person. Even like it said, with even a member with 1 day in the NA fellowship can carry the message that this program works. And we know what that's all about. Just seeing somebody's pain, to know that they finally had enough courage to walk through the door, take that first step, that first hurdle was cleared. And then for the person that, to not to think that I'm here to save anybody, because like I said, I'm very aware that I'm here to save my own ass. But in turn, our literature is just set up, and it's probably you can equate it with service, or you can equate it with it, which was mentioned earlier, can be at any form or any level. And to know that I've got a part in that, this is a take part kind of a program. We feed off of each other, and without that, we're back into our disease, isolation. Thinking that I either have the answers or you ain't got shit. I don't need your answers. And pretty much I probably don't even know the questions when I'm in that thinking anyway. That was another thing here, and I probably won't find it because I've got too many things highlighted here, but, yeah. But when a person reaches out for help, it was what I was looking for. Oh, it is a privilege. That's what I look at today. We often ask for the help of another recovering addict when sharing with a new person. You know, we try not to do it alone because I don't want to just give them AJ's opinion, you know. And that's what I think the strength and the unity, which the diversity is all about. You know, that's what enriches us, you know, the different angles, the different cultures here, the different stories we lived that got us here. You know, that's the message, you know, and how we're living today, you know, with different circumstances. Everybody walks away from this place when it's over and they've got a different workaday world, a different set of circumstances, and how do you get through yours? I want to hear that. You know, I want to hear the mistakes you've made in recovery to help me. I don't want to hear how you use dope. I know how to do that. I want to hear how you stay clean in your little crisis when it comes along. And it's a privilege to respond to a cry for help. We try to make them, talking about newcomers, feel welcome and help them learn what the program has to offer. Freedom from active addiction, you know, for starters. And then this part here, this is what we're striving for to me. We received, it's a done deal. We received our recovery. You know, I don't care how many days you got behind you. If you got 30 days, you've received recovery already. From the God of our understanding, we now make ourselves available as his tool to share recovery with those who seek it, our primary purpose. You know, we are given the ability to help a fellow addict when no one else can. This miraculous turnabout is evidence of a spiritual awakening. And then it goes on, the temptation to give advice is great. You know, but when we do this, we lose the respect of newcomers, and we were sharing about that recently. You know, I can go to an NA meeting and never hear a step mentioned the whole meeting, and that hurts sometimes. You know, but that's okay too. I still get something out of that. You know, it works. We don't have to understand how it works to let it work, but the miracle is kept alive by the things that were mentioned today. You know, an active hand in giving back that which was freely given, and knowing that I can, you know, anybody here can have a part in that. You know, we're not excluded. The desire to stop using is the only requirement to be here, even if you got a poppy seed of desire. You know, people that are still using, if they're coming to meetings, don't look down on them. They have a desire, or they wouldn't even be there. If they got a desire to get a get well card from a judge signed, that's a desire. They're trying to do something. At least they're staying within the parameters of the law. You know, whatever it is. We don't know how the message will be recepted, you know, as long as it's available. Keeping it alive, keeping it so, you know, it was here when I got here, and it was here when everybody in this room got here, or we wouldn't be here, I guess. You know, it's not too profound to think about, but keeping it alive is what it's all about. Change, you know, when my sponsor asked me with not a lot of time in the program, maybe 6 months or so, he says, so what is it we're recovering from? You know, gee, ourselves? You know, what kind of answer you want here? But when I found that in the basic text, recovery is an active change of attitudes and ideas, and I've got to be active in that. You know, I change my mind on that when I feel this way now, and then when I find when things don't work, I've got to make new amendments, new changes to, you know, to find the things that do work for my personal program. You know, which I try to emulate the program. You know, the program in Narcotics Anonymous is as close as I can keep to it, with the God of my understanding, where my God leads me, and then stay within, you know, without making it real difficult. It's simple for complicated people. You know, that's what they told me. It's an easy program for complicated people, and we can sure get some pretzel logic and tie ourselves up in knots, and, you know, and that's when we don't recover. So if I want to recover, I want to change some things. So what I was locked and loaded on when I got here, that's the way it is. That's the way it'll always be. And I know when people come through the door, I have to remember that. That is what I have to remember about myself. That's the only thing I can do is put myself back in my own shoes to see that person that's coming through the door. You know, wonder what they're thinking about now. You know, wonder if they don't like that word God. I wonder if, you know, and I'm not judging, I'm not really inventorying. I'm just thinking all the scenarios that we can maybe make someone feel at ease. And that's all we can do. And with that, I'm glad to be here, and I'll give you Phil. Okay.
Jim with her name tag. I'm anal. I do stuff like that. Phil and I'm an addict. Here I sit at a Narcotics Anonymous convention, and I'm in a workshop on the primary purpose of Narcotics Anonymous, which is very explicit. They address the disease of addiction, and their primary purpose is to carry the message to the addict that still suffers so that no addict seeking recovery need ever die from the disease of addiction. Get your paper and pencil. And that we achieve that by having meetings, then we go on to area, region, world, which are different levels of Narcotics Anonymous. But it all boils down to, the way I understand it, to the one person sitting at a meeting that's talking. And what message am I carrying? So I have what's known as a few 24 hours, and I go back to when there was only 2 meetings in the area I predominantly live in. There was no area, there was no region. I think it was in 83 or 84 in downtown Chicago. They had a big meeting to form the first 3-state region. My first real experience with hundreds of addicts yelling and screaming at each other, all thinking they're right. And I was yelling and screaming too, because I thought I was real right then too. So what my own personal experience, strength, and hope is specifically about carrying this message, this primary purpose, boiling down to the individual member sitting at a meeting. And I don't care where you get on the ladder. Secretary, treasurer, GSR, trusted servant, that's all you are. You're a trusted elected servant, although what ends up happening in most places is that if you're a friend of the clique, then you can get to be a trusted servant, and the message becomes very distorted. A lot of us discover, as I have, that addiction was more than just drugs, and it speaks about that in the book. But like I say, NA is very specific. That's all they're addressing is active drug addiction, and that we can recover from that at some point through working the 12 steps, and then if we choose to get on to service work, we can learn about the traditions and then learn how to apply those towards the steps. This is the way I understand it. So the one group that I was attending real regularly and was my original home group in 1983 or 84, some of the egomaniacs with inferiority complexes decided that, yes, although we do have one primary purpose, does that not mean that we have a secondary and possibly a third purpose and a fourth and a fifth? And I look back and I keep hearing, you know, it's a simple program for complicated people. So this group started putting on dances, and once area did start, they donated tremendously to area, and the monies they raised from the dances used to support that group and do other things. Well, all the personalities went flying as a result of that, and nobody, you know, there was no dances, there was no picnics, there was no functions like that. This was the first group I know of in the area I predominantly go to meetings in that was doing that type of stuff, and I saw the tremendous sickness that we stumble into this fellowship with, you know, running rampant. They're stealing the money, you know, they're arrogant, they're cocky, they're ego. But really in the pit of their hearts, they were carrying the message. They were doing what they thought was right, to do something other than a meeting. And now there's, you know, picnics, dances, pig roasts, canoe trips, conventions. But it was a start from where I'm at. And then area started, and I got a little bit involved in that. And in my zealousness, like your atypical newcomer, I was holding, those meetings were starting quick back then. Some of you might, you know with a few years that you'll start with a few meetings, and then in your zealousness there'll be a ton of them, and then it'll be like, what meeting do I go to tonight? So some fold and some stay. But, there was a period where I was holding down, I was representing 3 different groups. I think this was around 5 years straight. And I went to an area meeting, and I really was not aware that you're only allowed 1 vote no matter how much you're representing. And that a vote had come up, and the chairman reminded me of that. At that point in my life, I don't want to say recovery because I've discovered there's a vast difference between that and just not using. At that point in my life, I got up and I went over to the table and I was going to pick him up out of the chair and smoke his eyeball because I really thought I was right and that I should get those 3 votes because I'm representing Narcotics Anonymous. At that point in my life, what I was really doing was running on my ego, my self-will. And then I got out of service work. And I didn't do any other than one-on-one. And I feel that's what my higher power has chosen for me to do. Well, I don't feel there's a step that talks about the contact with him, which I maintain very strong all day long. And he has revealed my purpose to me. I do it best one-on-one. So the primary purpose at this workshop that NA specifically talks about that I'm aware of, as I understand, is freedom from the disease of addiction. And if I'm not mistaken, if anybody knows and can correct me or validate me, it's a clinically diagnosed disease. I believe in 1953 with a whole set of symptoms and patterns, because to be called a disease, you got to have a ton of paperwork with it to be identified. But anyway, off the track. The key thing I heard from everybody that spoke so far is, what message am I carrying? Am I being an idiot? And I still can be sometimes. I do what I call playing sometimes, I always was great at one-liners. It's just that I do my best not to really hurt somebody with it anymore. So I'm going to continue to carry the message as long as I stay straight. Several meetings I go to take up what I feel is valuable meeting time with what should be business meeting time. And it robs benefits or people that may actually want to share, and they'll hold off till they feel they're the last one from their low self-esteem. But because too much time was taken up with other things, I feel. And it speaks of it in the traditions, I think, 5 and 6. Carry the message to the still suffering addict. That's it. No matter what position I hold. Area brings the message back to the group. Region brings the message to area. World gives it to region. You do not govern, but it's been my experience most of them govern like hell. And most of them are friends of the friends. Used to be, there's a lot of jokes or a lot of cliches around the program, and one of them is all it takes to start a meeting is a resentment in a coffee pot. Well, I've found out in the time I've been around that also applies to an area, because where I was primarily going to meetings, I watched it grow from a baby, and it's now a very dysfunctional child. And in my endeavor to fix, manage, and control, I wanted to get in there and be chair of area. I said no. God told me no. That's not what I want you to do. So I've chosen to go to different meetings now. So I hope I've talked about the primary purpose and what I feel it is. And like I say, NA is very specific about it. Although, as I discovered, I have many other addictions. So with that, my name is Phil, and I'm an addict.
Thank you, Phil.
I'm a grateful recovering addict called Derek. Thanks, Phil. You kind of touched on what I was going to talk about. That information that you requested, David, it's in print. It starts on page 56 or 57 in the basic text. It's called Our Traditions. We carry the message by promoting unity and taking into consideration our common welfare. We carry the message by inviting a loving and caring higher power to influence our decision-making processes. We carry the message by staying clean for long periods of time and showing other addicts that this program does work, that we can stay clean. We carry the message by letting our groups be what they want to be, as long as they don't harm the fellowship, and they carry the message. We carry the message by putting our money in the basket, providing literature for addicts, providing meeting space for addicts, providing things for addicts to do and places for them to go. We carry the message by hiring people from outside the fellowship to perform certain tasks for us. Not so much on the local level, but from World Services, to translate our literature, to distribute our literature, to mail things, to set up technology so that we can keep in contact with the fellowship around the world. We carry the message by, as Meg, I believe, alluded to when she was sharing, doing that public information when we have our bumper stickers on our vehicles and our T-shirts, you know. And I know when I was a newcomer, I had a tendency of having to tell everybody, well, I'm a recovering addict. And this applies to whatever situation I was in. I couldn't take my kid to the doctor without explaining to the doctor that I'm a recovering addict. So I know exactly what she needs to do. We carry the message by putting principles before personalities, and that's why I introduce myself as a recovering addict before I say my name. That's all I got.
Thanks, Derek.
Hi, I'm Ray. I'm an addict.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
I from east side of Cleveland. Came in here the second time I've been here. I'm thinking a while back I was at in St. Louis for the World Convention, and it's the night before the night of this main speaker meeting, and a bunch of us got together, went to this restaurant, and have dinner before the main speaker meeting, and we're having a nice dinner, and then this group of people blew in, and they were like, "Where's our reservation? We're supposed to sit here," yelling and causing havoc on the whole restaurant. Then they'd sit down and they berated their waiters and waitresses, and it was uncomfortable. And finally we got out of there and we went to the main speaker meeting, and they had a clean time countdown, and those people started standing up at 27 years. So, and I was pretty new in recovery then. I'm thinking, boy, I hope that's made me 27 years from now, you know. So it just reminded me, you know, of you know, when Meg started off, it's you know, very much about how we portray ourselves in the community. You know, I think also of say Gandhi. I remember one time they arrested him. I read the story, and they were going to cart him off to jail again, and some reporters were all around him by the time he had gotten some, you know, he was getting some good press, and they said, well, let us have a message to bring back to bring back. He goes, well, my life is my message. So that's kind of, we can portray that with working our steps and living our life, you know, because when we're out there in the community and people see us, and it was already alluded to today, you know, a lot of people can, you know, we might be the only recovery that some people see, you know, they don't even know it, you know, and that smile that we give somebody, just you know, to be kind, to open the door, to be guided by our higher power, and that's what they might get to see. Thanks a lot. I'll pass.
Hi, family. I'm an addict named Marie. I'm grateful to be here today. Wow, man. It's just a great feeling. This is our 6th year here. For the kids, it's camping and NA camping, and they're used to the meetings. And we talk about carrying the message. The message starts with home, you know. I was that addict that they took my kids away. I was that addict that was in denial about having the disease of addiction. I just had a little drug problem, although I was homeless, penniless. They took the kids away. I was thrown in jail, but I didn't have a problem. Everybody else did, you know. And you know, court mandated, you know, the paper signs and all that, and I was pissed off because I still wanted to use, and I could not use and try to get my kids back at the same time, you know. So it's like I was caught up, you know. And God uses people. That's why I choose to call my higher power today. And be it the judge, the police, the DCFS worker, whatever, that's the intervenence that I needed in my life, you know, to get to where I'm at today, you know. Yesterday on the way here, we got stranded on Route 30, man. And, you know, people are nice today. I don't know if they're in recovery or not, but, you know, the truck pulled over and let us use the cell phone. Then another cop came over. He was off duty, you know, and he took us around, called the station, and got, you know, to people. And I knew one addict that was here for sure, and I knew this person was there. I said, ask for so-and-so, and tell them we're on Route 30, right by the Bob Evans farm. So we were only 20 miles out, you know. So, and then there's, you know, 7 kids and 4 adults. An addict told the adult, calm down, you know, the kids they were so patient. They were singing and just carrying on, having a good time. And, you know, God is good all the time. And this is the message that I carry, not we, you know, you all teach me to carry to my own kids. I could have panicked and snapped and and I wanted, you know, go off on my husband, you know, he's a mechanic and you know, and, you know, what you know, but I was cool. And hey, that's a message in itself. I was really, you know, okay, cool, you know, we're going to be okay though, you know. I knew that addicts, because this is the therapeutic value, you all taught me that in the beginning, of one addict helping another without parallel. I was in a damsel in distress, really, you know, and someone was there for me. You know, HP sent in all these people. You know, and then there's another trucker that came in, and we used the cell phone. He called a tow truck for me. I had to get the van towed here since my husband's a mechanic, and he'll be here at about 7. He'll take a look at the van. The people that I came with are panicking about how we're getting home Monday. I said, look, wait a minute. It's staying today. Right now, we are on Route 30. We are waiting for a ride, and we are going camping. I could have said, let's go back home. But, you know, see, the disease of addiction wants me to react. Today I respond. And I'm not always like that, because Thursday night everything was F this, F that, F. I was just effing away. My son called me. I'm like, hey, F you. He goes, Ma, you're going to F me when I get that car. I'm going to beat you. And I had to call my sponsor. You know, you talk about the addict calling you, you know, another addict calling you. An addict called me. I said, look, I'm not in a good mood right now. I don't need to hear it. I got to hang up because I need to call my sponsor. I hung up on her. Call me back later. I'm serious because, see, I am the suffering addict. See, I can't say I'm recovered. I'll never recover till I die, and if I die clean, then I recover. I'm always in the recovering process, or in the process of a relapse. See, everything is a process. Relapse is a process. Recovery is a process. So I was in that relapse mode of I was cursing around. I said, and when he comes in that door, yeah, that's right, I want to create an argument, and I'm gonna argue. She says, oh, yeah. I go, yeah, and I just want to freaking go off. I was tripping, man, because, first of all, I didn't want to drive here. And I'm used to following my husband. I ain't had to pay no attention to no roads. I'm following him. Wherever he turns, I'm turning. You know? I had to do this stuff, and I wasn't truly, he goes, well, you're not, you know, you're Mark and everyone else is going to be. I said, but the people I'm with, man, they're just like the kids, and they're going to drive me crazy. But God is good. Everything was all right. You know, we're here. You know, we got here last night. There was addicts there for me. And it was great, you know. And that's about carrying the message, you know. And they told me, well, what is the message? The message is hope. Helping other people every day. The promise is freedom. Freedom from active addiction. I never understood that. Freedom. Guess what? Freedom was I was freed from the prison in my own mind. You know, and I was locked into that Thursday. I was caught up. I had to free myself. And the only way I could do that was call my sponsor. See, God's always there 24/7, but sometimes I don't want to talk to God. I have to get with someone else that's tangible, because I'm so caught up, closed-minded, and I don't want to see. So my sponsor laughed at me and showed me out, and, you know, and Marie, you know, what about this? Because I was telling her, oh, it's going to be nice, you got to go. Every year I try to she's here today, thank God, she made it, you know, and I'm always trying to get her here, and it's so spiritual, and and they got this, and and it's my own little, and then Thursday, you know, the day before, she was, what happened to all that spirituality, Marie? Oh, man, see, whatever we carry, whatever we give, gets thrown back to us. I don't care what it is. You know how they say life's a circle? And it is, you know, and so that's where I was at. But God, like I said, man, oh, man, I'm so blessed. You know, I got my own 4 children here today, my 3 grandchildren. See, now, and talk about, see, when I was caught up Thursday in that shit, my godchild called me that I ain't seen in about 10, 12 years. She's telling me how inspirational she feels, how I inspire her, and and I came along with, and I'm freaking out because I'm caught up now. See, I'm caught up. HP intervened that time too, because he said, you're going on this trip, you're doing you need to relax. Boy, that shut me down. I was so nice. I wanted to really argue with my husband that night, because I was just in a really, you know, we really do hurt the ones we love, you know, closest to us. I don't care what anybody says. You could be loving and caring outside that door, be so kind and serene with other people. But when it comes to the loved one, man, you want to claw, tooth, nail, hang, choke, you know, all that other shit. I done killed him I don't know how many times in my mind. You know, so that's what it is. So when I'm carrying a message, what am I carrying at home? You know? And now I work in an environment where I have to deal with other lives, right? You know, I'm blessed today because I have an opportunity to be in my office with my supervisor, my coworkers, sit there and do a morning prayer. God put me in an awesome place because He knows I'm sick. I am sick. I mean, look, I would have had 5 years clean last year, but I relapsed. Through that process, it's a process, mind you, okay? Because I was okay. I didn't need to make meetings anymore. I didn't need to call my sponsor on a regular basis. I didn't need to write shit, you know. I didn't need to apply because it didn't affect me anymore. But I was on that relapse process, and I used. And the thing about that, the time when I went out there, I'm in that dope house. A person came up to me and said, Marie, can I ask you a personal question? And I'm like, you know, well, what can this person tell me? You know, and she goes, I go, yeah, go ahead. You know, what the heck? You know, you all taught me about listening and all that good shit, right? And that constructive criticism, you know. So she tells me, why are you here? I looked at her like in shock, like, what you mean, why am I here? I'm getting, you know, trying to get fucked up. And she said, you don't look like us. You don't act like us. You don't even dress like us. You don't even look high. Why are you here? If that ain't a message and a message and a message in the damn dope house, I don't know what is. And I looked at her like, it blew me out. It just totally blew me away. And I looked at her, I was trying, you know, the words that were trying to come out of my mouth was, but I'm an addict. I'm an addict. That couldn't even come out. It's like, you're right. I don't belong here. I do not belong. I lost that seat a long time ago. I lost that seat 6 years ago, and I was trying to get back in the groove, trying to do something right. They say you pick off where you left off. You pick up where, and believe me, I sure in the hell did. I did that. And there was one more thing that would have went on that would have been a continuous stage, that finding ways and means to get more. She pulled and intervened that part. I picked my little happy ass off that couch, got in my van, and went to my mother's house. I didn't go home first, shit. Because I was afraid. You know, they say don't die from embarrassment and shame. No, don't die. I call my sponsor right away. I don't give a shit if you use today, yesterday, whatever. Tell somebody, because we're only sick as our secrets. The darker and closer that you keep that thing in you, you will use again. You know, and trying to get clean, that's messed up. You know, keep coming back. Don't use, because it's so much easier staying clean than to keep trying to get clean. And I can sit here and tell you that, because when I relapsed, I didn't accept it. I beat, you know, we are the good ones to beat ourselves up. We need nobody's help. We do the best job at it. Because remember, we're manipulators. You know, I beat the crap out myself where I just couldn't accept it. That first step is a must. I must admit who I am, and I must accept who I am, and I must ask for help. You see, because I'm not a mind reader. My husband can't read my mind. He may think he can at times, you know, but he can't. I have to express what's going on in my life, you know. And if I don't express, and you know, I build a beautiful relationship with my sponsor, because I call her at work, man. I know she's tired of me too. I was calling her I don't know how many times. And even if I don't talk to her, I'll talk to the answering service. That's good too, because I got it out. If she didn't catch it, her husband got it, or her daughter got it, but somebody heard it in that house, okay? You know, and that's where I'm at today. I can't sit here and say, oh, on the freaking machine, on the freaking beeper, da-da-da-da-da. You know, people give you them numbers, and they got an answering service for a reason. Because if they ain't there, they will get back to you. You know, patience, you know, they talk about that word patience. And I'm still learning patience. I'm getting a lot better with it, because you see I brought 3 more extra children this time around. So I'm gaining that patience, you know. Living in Trainiana, all the trains and shit, you know, that teaches me patience. You know, I'll pull out my just for the day or whatever, you know, and at work, I don't sit there and advertise who I am. And it's how we walk the walk. And at work, I'm learning a lot. See, you all taught me there ain't no big eyes or little U's. I don't care if you're the CEO, EEA, or whatever, director of the job, you are a human being just like me. See, because I used to always be this, I had no self-esteem, you know. I have self-esteem today, and I can sit there and have that eye contact with the director and exactly sure where I feel in a loving, caring way, y'all. Because then I know that's my job on the line too. So I'm learning all these things only through you, only through keep coming back, applying the steps, and carrying this message. And sometimes I'm sitting in a meeting, I'll carry the mess. I'm sorry, because sometimes I'm totally fucked up, and I'll carry the mess. But guess what? After I carry my mess, someone will turn around and sit there and say, well, this is what I did to get through my mess. And they show me another way. An addict was sharing in here about we go through things. And we go through things not for ourselves, because see, we're so total self-centered. We think we go through this shit for ourselves. We think we're sitting here because of us. You a damn lie. We're sitting here because of that newcomer that walks in that door and like another addict share being that beacon of light. We are. And like they say with other family members, I have a lot of practicing family members. And just like I said, my godchild called the other day. That blew me away. And talking about all this inspiration she has and how I came a long way, because she remembers that time when my kids are taken. She remembers all the horrors of my addiction and where I'm at today. See, I don't see these things. Sometimes I think, damn, why am I here? What's going on with me? That's because I'm starting to sit on that pity pot shit. Me, back in total self-centeredness, because that is the core of my disease, But I have to get out of that, and only by applying these steps, the principles, the works, how, and why, the how of the program, only by it. And it says basic text, sponsor, meetings. Meetings, sponsor, basic text, and your higher power. That comes within time, because some people, whatever spirituality, I don't know. And I have to learn that too, because, this time around, it's totally different. You see, if my spirituality, once my spirit is gone, you got to have a spirit. If you ain't got spirit, you're dead. I don't care what anybody, I was dead out there for 17 years I've been dead, spiritually, And today I have spirit, only through the process. And I used to hate that word, trust the process, Marie. Fuck the process, because I want what I want, and I want it now. Now, give it to me now. But I'm learning about that too, But anyway, I am just so glad to be here and seeing everybody here from last year and everybody that's here today. Yeah, do please keep coming back, because it does get better, and we do need you, because I need you. I know that. Thanks.
Hi everybody, my name's Mark and I'm an addict.
Hi Mark.
First thing I want to say is I didn't bring that lounge chair to make it look like I got the best seat in the house. I picked up something 2 months ago called Epstein-Barr virus, which turned into mononucleosis. I have no idea how I got it, but I guess like what the book says, it doesn't matter how we got addiction, it's what we're going to do about it. And for me, I require a lot of rest. And it's hard because I have workaholic tendencies, and this has been one of the hardest things that I've had to do, is to slow down and learn how to relax, And I think that's somebody's way of telling me to slow down, So, but I guess this program's given me the thoughts of it could be worse, rather than why me. I've not once thought why me in the past 2 months, and I know it could be worse. I know there's a lot worse things out there. So, carrying the message, I know that I cannot go to the dope house and carry the message. That don't make sense. One of the best places I can carry it is at NA functions. I can carry it at work, through acquaintances. There's this guy that sits next to me at work. He's new. He just threw over here and stuff. I guess he got out of jail. I know he's using. He comes back from work every payday and goes down the line, pays everyone back, takes his 2-hour lunches, comes back all, itching and pin-eyed, and I know he's not ready, because he thinks he's got it going on. And I know in order to be ready for this program, you got to be beat down. And as far as getting to meetings, I went to a meeting a few months ago. I'm from the Detroit area, and I copped a bit of a resentment to people who had been around for a while. because I sought out this table where it was like all newcomers. Actually, it was a treatment center van, and it was all people from the treatment center. And there was maybe 20 people off in the kitchen just like bullshitting and that, and all the other tables were going on. And I went and sat down. I will go and sit down where I see new faces and kind of give those people the hope that was given to me when I came in, when I felt totally hopeless, and I really didn't think I could do it. I really didn't think I could live without drugs. And I just try and give some of that hope back and replace that hopelessness. And I mean, I sat down at this table, and they were reading the third step. And then they started reading the fourth. I said, wait a second. In Detroit, we read a step and talk about it. Well, these people didn't have no direction. They read the first step, then they read the second step, then they read the third step. And finally, a couple people who had been around for a while came down and sat down, and there was just kind of showed these newer people how to do it, and just, give them a little guidance. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say is, when I share with newcomers, I say, please don't let all this talk about God scare you out of here, because a lot of people are not ready to even hear about God when they come in here. And as soon as they hear God, I know people that have just gone back out for a few more years. And I just try and let them, you can hear a lot of talk about God, but you got to get into that right now. Just sit at first step tables, and we're not a bunch of religious freaks. You can come to your own understanding. I have my own unique belief in what a higher power is, and I don't really care if anyone agrees with me on that. And kind of let the newcomers know that if you really want this thing called inner peace and serenity, it comes through that higher power. Because when I came through, I noticed people that did not have God in their life, and they didn't have inner peace and serenity. And there was other people that had God in their life, and they had that twinkle in their eye, and it's like, okay, this is what I want. And I was curious enough to know that I want it. I definitely want what certain people have. So let's just try to go out of our way at meetings and offer newcomers like additional hope. That's all. Thanks.
Would you all care to help me close the meeting with a group hug of prayer?